Most advisors think they're burned out because they're working too hard. They're not. They're burned out because they built a business that depends solely on them. In this clip, Mike and I break down why successful advisors lose their mojo and what elite teams do differently who create more capacity, freedom, and control. It's interesting you saying that, man, because, I was talking with the group last week and I was asking them specifically, what does your team meeting cadence look like? And they're like, well, we try to have a weekly meeting. And that right there, when they said that, was like, hold on, we shouldn't be trying. That should be mandatory.
Exactly.
Right? It should be mandatory. And the most elite teams do that. And maybe we brought this up on the last call. I know we've talked about it before, but elite teams like the Blue Angels performance team, they have a brief and debrief of every performance, and an advisory team should do the same thing, because the more that you can have that open, honest communication, be very transparent about challenges, things that, hey, you know what, I'm going to call you out, Mike. I know you committed to this week for the team, and I don't know that you got that done. And you're able to have that type of dialogue. I'm finding the elite teams I work with, that has been empowering to not only the advisor to be able to allow his team to do that, or her team, but the operations team feels empowered that they have a voice, they can speak up. And sometimes that's a dynamic that isn't always there. And when that's allowed, man, teams start working more efficiently together. They are having that communication. They can start troubleshooting quicker, and that leads to more efficiency, which then obviously is going to save them time too. So it's very interesting, and it's, I think, a thing we continually hear. I heard just recently, and this one hit me kind of hard, is I had an advisor tell me, you know what, Jason, I think the number one thing that I really want is I want to get my mojo back. And when he said that, you could just feel the weight of that comment of, I'm a little burnout.
Yeah.
I'm a success. I have a successful practice. I have a great team, but he said that right in front of his team. I want to get my mojo back. And I know he's not the only one out there. I know there's a lot of people listening to this right now going, raising their hands, and yeah, I feel like that sometimes too. Outside of kind of the time allocation, can you get into the more specific examples of what you see? Because I think you hear the same thing too.
I do.
What causes that? What are you hearing from your top advisors?
So what I'm normally hearing is that for most advisors, though very successful, when you start talking about the end goal, beginning with the end in mind, what are we trying to do here? I think we just get so caught up in the day-to-day minutia of a lot of what we do. We get so caught up in a lot of the technical things that the practice management capabilities, the relationship management capabilities, what are we really doing? How are we doing it? And is it impactful at the client level? And are we also creating efficiency and effectiveness for the betterment of the experience that not just your team is having, but your clients are having as well? So I think, again, that whole burnout comes from that whole rat wheel. We're just doing the same things over and over again, and we're not taking time to actually step back and evaluate. And that's where the whole team meeting, I think, is so important. And I tell my groups, you need to own that as being as important as a client meeting. Don't let that go to the wayside. And every single morning, I have most of my groups now doing a morning huddle for 15 minutes where they get together, they have a conversation. It's not super structured, but what do we have going on today? What's going on in our own lives? Are there fires that need to be put out? Like, here's what I'm working on, here's what you're working on. Again, I truly believe that just creates more and more structure for most groups. So I find that to be really important. And I think a takeaway from this, because this is a structure that I've seen work well for a lot of different teams as far as allocation of time, is how are we using each and every day as well? Where Mondays and Fridays, most of my groups are not taking client appointments. It's meeting with the team, planning for the week ahead, having that structure. What are we planning and preparing for? And then going to work, owning that. So you can go into Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday with those kind of revenue generating days, focusing on client work, but feeling prepared for it. And then having Friday as a flex day. If you need to meet with someone unexpectedly, a top tier client, you've got that time. End of week wrap up, things like that. Teams over the course of a year, they can change and get to that structure. And I've gotten great feedback from that. Yeah. But I'm sure that's stuff that you've talked about as well.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing is being more intentional because a lot of
Correct.
times, like, well, we do time block, we do have this, but things come up and we get sidetracked, right? Or a call comes in that I thought would take 5 minutes and now it's 45 minutes and the day's kind of behind. We hear that all the time, and the point that you're making about being intentional with your calendar, being intentional with your time, and really taking that leverage back because I think what happens with a lot of advisors, and we were guilty of this young in our careers as well, is, when you're sitting there with 10 clients, what do you have lots of? Time,
Time,
right? And you
right?
can serve all those clients with all the time you have, right? You're the best
Exactly.
agent ever. But then what happens when you get to 40 clients? You can kind of still play that game. You get to 100, you start feeling that pressure. I'm trying to serve everybody at the same level. You get to 200 households, it's unsustainable. You can't do
Yeah.
it. And
Correct.
so what you're needing to do is really, where am I spending my time and resources, and not really from a time perspective, but from a revenue perspective. Where's the revenue being generated? And I think one of the things that ties into this is knowing where you're spending your time and who you're spending it with, which goes into how are you segmenting your book?
Right.
What is the makeup of your book, and where should you be spending time and resources? I know that when we first started working together, that was a big emphasis for you, and I know you hammer that really hard with your teams as well as I do. But I think segmentation and knowing exactly where you're spending your time is equally as important of helping you to be intentional with that time.